The sky burned with fire. Warships clashed above a broken world. Red beams cut through the blackness of space, while explosions shook the ground like thunder. Among the chaos, a boy ran, clutching the hand of a small alien girl. She was crying, her voice lost in the screams and smoke. "Don't let go," he shouted. Her skin glowed faintly blue under the dust, her eyes wide with fear. She stumbled, nearly falling, but he pulled her up again. The battlefield was collapsing around them. Soldiers shouted orders. Engines roared. Somewhere behind them, a blast struck, and the boy felt himself thrown forward. He hit the ground hard. His ears rang. Dust filled his lungs. When he tried to rise, the girl's hand was gone. "Brother!" she screamed, her voice thin, desperate. He reached for her, but shadows swallowed her. Soldiers dragged him away, and he saw her small figure vanish in the fire. That was the last thing he remembered before everything turned black. Years later, the boy had grown into a man. His name was Daniel. He was human now, or so everyone believed, a veteran of endless battles. He carried scars across his body and deeper ones in his heart. He was respected by soldiers and feared by enemies. But at night, when the stars were quiet, he still dreamed of that little girl calling for him. He had told himself it was only a memory twisted by war. Perhaps she never existed. Perhaps she had died long ago. Daniel's latest mission took him to a ruined world on the edge of human space. The place was silent, its cities fallen into dust. His squad searched for survivors, moving carefully among broken towers and shattered glass. "Captain," one soldier whispered through the comms, picking up faint signals ahead. Could be civilians. Could be a trap. Daniel gave the order to move. They stepped into the ruins, their boots crunching on stone. Then he heard it. A voice. Soft. Familiar. Wait for me." Daniel froze. His heart raced. For a moment, he thought he had lost his mind. It was the same voice from his dreams, the voice of a little girl long gone. "Sir?" a soldier asked, noticing his hesitation. "Stay sharp," Daniel muttered, though his own hands trembled. They pushed deeper into the ruins, weapons ready. Shadows stretched long against the cracked walls. The signal grew stronger, and then she appeared. A figure stepped out from the dust, tall and graceful. Her skin still glowed faintly blue. Her eyes, bright, shining like stars, locked onto Daniel's face. She whispered one word, "Brother." Daniel's breath caught in his chest. The world seemed to stop. He felt himself pulled back to that day, to smoke and fire, to a small hand slipping from his own. But this woman was not the child he remembered. She was grown, strong, her voice steady though filled with emotion. "It can't be," Daniel whispered. "You're dead." She shook her head, tears forming in her eyes. "I waited. I survived. All these years. I knew I would find you." The soldiers raised their weapons nervously. "Captain, is this an enemy?" one asked. Daniel couldn't answer. His chest ached. His mind at sea. Daniel stood frozen in the ruined street. The dust swirled between them, but his eyes never left the alien woman who had called him brother. The soldiers behind him shifted uneasily. One tightened his grip on his rifle. Another whispered, "Sir, give the order. Do we fire?" Daniel raised a hand, stopping them. His heart pounded. The woman took a step forward. Her long silver hair moved in the faint wind. Though her skin glowed faintly blue, there was no doubt in her expression. It was the same look from his memories. The look of the child who once clung to his hand, begging him not to let go. "I don't believe it," Daniel muttered. "This is impossible." Her lips trembled. "You think I would forget you?" Daniel's voice came out rough, almost angry. "How do you even know that word?" "Brother." "Who taught you that?" Her eyes softened. "You did. Long ago in the fire." Memories resurfaced. The soldiers glanced at each other, confused. But Daniel's thoughts spun. He remembered the battlefield, the little girl crying, her small hand slipping away. For years, he had forced himself to believe it was just a dream, a memory twisted by war. But this woman remembered too. Still, Daniel's soldier's mind demanded proof. He couldn't just believe because of one word. He stepped forward slowly, lowering his weapon but keeping his guard up. If you are who you claim to be, then tell me, what did I promise you that day? Her eyes filled with tears. She whispered softly, You told me to wait. You said you would come back for me. And I waited all these years. Daniel's breath caught. His chest tightened as though a blade had been driven through it. Those were the exact words from his dream. Words he had buried so deep. Doubt and fear. Sir, one of the soldiers said urgently, this could be a trick. Aliens know how to read human minds. She could be playing with your memories. Daniel didn't respond. He studied her carefully. Every movement, every word. Nothing felt like a trick. Yet part of him feared believing. If this was real, then the pain of leaving her behind would return. Sharper than ever, the woman stepped closer, ignoring the rifles aimed at her. I grew up far from you, she said, her voice breaking. But I never forgot. I knew one day we would meet again. And now here you are. Her hands trembled as she reached out. Daniel's body went rigid. His instincts screamed not to trust. Yet his heart, the part of him that had not felt warmth in years, whispered something else. He didn't take her hand, but he didn't turn away either. The hidden name, Who are you now? Daniel asked sharply. They call me Lyra, she said, but to you, I was once just a little sister. The name rang in his ears. Lyra. He remembered faintly calling out something similar in the smoke when he was young. The memory was faint, but it was real. Daniel's soldiers grew restless. Captain, what do we do? Daniel lowered his weapon fully. We're not shooting her. Not until I know the truth. The squad didn't argue, though their expressions showed unease. A dangerous truth. Lyra's face brightened faintly at his words, but then her expression grew serious. We cannot stay here. If they find us together, both our lives will be in danger. Who? Daniel demanded. My people, she whispered. The empire that raised me. They do not want me to remember you. To them, you are the enemy. If they learn we are together, they will hunt us both. Daniel clenched his jaw. So, you've been living with them all this time? Yes. They taught me their ways. They gave me strength. But inside, I was always waiting for this moment, to see you again. Her eyes burned with sincerity. Daniel's heart ached. He wanted to believe, but his soldier's training kept warning him. Could this be a setup? Was she a weapon sent to break him? He forced the thought aside. Right now, he needed answers. Testing the bond. You say you remember me, Daniel said. Prove it. Tell me something no one else could know. Lyra closed her eyes. For a long moment, she stood silently, as though searching deep within. Then she opened them again, and her voice trembled as she spoke. You used to hum to me when the nights were dark, she whispered. Not a song for my people. A human tune. I never knew the words, but the sound, it made me feel safe. Daniel's breath stopped. He remembered. It was true. As children hiding in the shadows of war, he had hummed an old earth lullaby to calm her. He had almost forgotten it himself. His hands shook. His soldiers noticed. Sir, one asked. Daniel swallowed hard. Stand down. She's telling the truth. A brother's pain. For the first time in years, Daniel let the wall around his heart crack. He stepped closer, his voice softer. Lyra, I thought you were gone. I thought the same of you, she said, tears rolling down her cheeks. But I never gave up. Their eyes met, and for a brief moment, the ruined city around them vanished. There was only a brother and sister, torn apart by war, now standing face to face after years of pain. But the moment did not last. Shadows in the sky. A sudden shriek echoed across the ruins. Daniel's head snapped upward. In the distance, alien ships cut through the sky. Their engines roared, closing fast. Lyra's face went pale. They're here. Daniel cursed under his breath. Everyone move. Find cover. The squad scattered, diving into broken buildings. Daniel grabbed Lyra's arm. Are they after you? They've been watching me, she admitted. They don't want me near humans. If they catch me with you, they will call me traitor. Then we run. Daniel said firmly. Escape. Blasts tore through the ruins as alien drones descended. Fire ripped through the air, turning stone to ash. Daniel's squad fired back, their rifles flashing. "Captain!" one soldier shouted. "We're surrounded." Daniel's mind raced. They were trapped, and at the center of it all was the woman who claimed to be his sister. He pulled her close. "Lyra, listen to me. If you want to live, stay with me. Don't let go this time." Her eyes widened, and she nodded, gripping his arm tightly. The echoes of the past returned. A promise broken once, now given again. Daniel raised his weapon, fire blazing in his eyes. For the first time, he was not only fighting for survival, he was fighting for family. Ending Hook, as the ruins burned around them, Lyra shouted over chaos, "Brother, they will never stop hunting us." Daniel fired into the advancing drones and growled back, "Then let them come. This time I won't lose you." The battle raged on, smoke rising high into the sky, and their reunion had only just begun. The ruins trembled with fire and smoke. Alien drones swooped low, their weapons flashing red across the night. Daniel's squad fired back, their rifles spitting bursts of light that lit the broken walls. Lyra clung to his arm, her blue skin glowing faintly in the dust. "This way!" she shouted, pointing toward a half-collapsed tunnel. Daniel barked the order. "Squad, fall back. Cover fire." They dove into the tunnel as the walls shook behind them. The entrance caved in, cutting off the drones. For a moment, the world went silent, except for the heavy breaths of soldiers and the faint hum of distant engines. One soldier cursed under his breath. "We almost got roasted back there." "Captain, who is she?" All eyes turned toward Lyra. Her strange glow filled the tunnel, painting her as something both beautiful and dangerous. Daniel's jaw tightened. "That's what I'm trying to find out." The tension. The soldiers whispered among themselves. "She's alien. Can we even trust her? She saved us. If not for her, we'd be dead. Or maybe she led them here." Lyra lowered her gaze. "I understand their fear," she said softly, "but I am not your enemy. Not yours." Her eyes lifted to Daniel's. "Not my brother's." Daniel's chest tightened at the word, but the squad's doubt weighed heavy. He needed proof, not just words. "Lyra," he said, his voice hard but not cruel, "tell me something only my sister could know. The shared secret." Her eyes shimmered. She took a step forward. "When the nights were cold, you gave me your jacket, the soldier's warning." One soldier stepped forward, his rifle still raised. "Captain, even if she is your sister, she's part of them now. The empire she comes from killed thousands of our people. You can't just bring her with us." Daniel's eyes turned cold. "She stays. But that's an order." His voice cut like steel. The soldier lowered his weapon, but unease lingered in his eyes. Between two worlds, the group moved deeper into the tunnel, torches flickering against the walls. Lyra walked beside Daniel, her steps light, her gaze searching his face. "You've changed," she whispered. "You're harder now. Stronger." "War changes people," Daniel muttered. "And yet," she tilted her head, studying him, "you still look at me the way you once did, like I'm your family." He said nothing, but inside his heart churned. After a long silence, he asked, "What happened to you, Lyra? All these years?" Her voice grew heavy. "After we were torn apart, soldiers found me. Not your people. Theirs. They raised me in their empire, taught me their ways, trained me to fight. But they never gave me the one thing I truly wanted, you." Daniel's fists clenched. The thought of her growing up among the very people he fought filled him with anger. "So you've been their soldier?" "I had no choice," she said softly. "But every night, I remembered the boy who promised to come back. I lived for that promise." A moment of connection. The tunnel opened into a cavern. They set up temporary lights, casting long shadows across the walls. The squad spread out, keeping watch. Daniel sat apart, staring at his hands. Lyra approached slowly, her steps quiet. "You don't trust me," she said gently. "I want to," he admitted, "but I've been a soldier too long. I've seen traps dressed as hope. Her voice softened. Then let me prove it. Do you remember the song you used to hum? Daniel's eyes widened. You still remember that? Lyra closed her eyes and began to hum softly. The tune was shaky at first, then grew steadier. The same lullaby he had hummed when they were children, hiding in the smoke. Daniel's chest ached. He closed his eyes, hearing his past echo in her voice. For a moment, he wasn't a hardened soldier. He was a boy again, clutching his sister's hand in the dark. When the song ended, neither spoke. Words weren't needed. The unwelcome signal. Suddenly, the squad's comm crackled. Captain, a voice reported from the surface. Enemy ships are sweeping the ruins. They're searching for something. Or someone. Daniel's gaze snapped to Lyra. Her face paled. They're searching for me. They never let me go far. They must have tracked me when I came here. The squad muttered curses. Great. She led them straight to us. Daniel stood sharply. No, they were already here. She warned us. But the doubt lingered in his men's eyes. The promise renewed. Lyra stepped closer, her eyes desperate. They will call me traitor for being with you. If they capture me, they'll kill me. But if you push me away, I'll be lost again. Daniel's heart thundered. He remembered the moment her hand slipped from his in the fire, the scream that haunted his dreams. This time he would not let go. He looked into her glowing eyes and said firmly, You stay with me. I don't care what it costs. Tears filled her eyes, but she smiled faintly. Then I will fight beside you. Ending hook. Above, the rumble of enemy ships grew louder. The cavern shook with distant blasts. Daniel turned to his squad. Prepare for extraction. We're leaving now. But, Captain, one soldier protested, glancing at Lyra. Daniel cut him off. She's family. That's all that matters. The squad obeyed reluctantly, but Daniel knew the hardest battles were yet to come. For the first time in years, he was not alone. His sister was alive. But with her came danger, secrets, and a war that might tear them apart again. As the cavern walls shook, Lyra whispered just loud enough for him to hear. Brother, they will come for us both. Daniel's hand tightened on his weapon. His jaw set. Let them. The cavern shook again, dust falling from the ceiling. Daniel's squad scrambled to pack their gear, their faces tight with worry. Above them, the low rumble of engines echoed like thunder. Enemy ships were sweeping the ruins. Daniel stood near the entrance, weapon ready, eyes on the shadows. Lyra stood beside him, her faint blue glow casting soft light against the stone. She looked calm, but Daniel saw the way her hands trembled. They won't stop, she whispered. If they know I'm with you, they'll hunt us until we're dead. Daniel's jaw clenched. Then let them come. I've survived worse. But even as he said it, he knew this fight was different. These weren't faceless enemies. They were her people, the empire that had raised her. Soldiers doubt. One of his men approached. Captain, with respect, she's a liability. We're being hunted because of her. If command finds out you're protecting an alien... Daniel's eyes narrowed. She's not just an alien. She's my sister. The soldier hesitated. His voice lowered. And what if she has to choose between you and them? Daniel didn't answer. He turned away, but the question gnawed at him. Lyra's people had taken her in, raised her, made her strong. Could she really turn back on them? A brother's question. As the squad prepared for extraction, Daniel pulled Lyra aside. Tell me the truth, he said. If it comes down to it, whose side will you stand on? Theirs or mine? Her lips parted, but no sound came at first. She looked down, her silver hair falling over her face. I don't know, she admitted softly. They raised me. Without them, I would not be alive. But her eyes lifted to his, filled with pain. You are my blood, my brother. I waited for you when they told me to forget. I can't turn against you. Daniel studied her face. He wanted to believe, needed to believe. But war had taught him that words alone weren't enough. The first clash. The cavern entrance exploded inward. Alien soldiers in black armor stormed through, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. Contact, Daniel shouted. His squad opened fire, beams of light cutting across the dark. The cavern roared with sound, flashes painting the stone walls red and blue. Lyra ducked behind cover. For a moment, Daniel thought she would stay there, frozen, torn between sides. But then she grabbed a fallen rifle, her eyes blazing. With a fierce cry, she fired the armored soldiers, dropping one, then another. Daniel's squad stared in shock. An alien fighting against her own. Daniel felt a surge of pride and relief, but also fear. Torn in two, the battle raged for minutes that felt like hours. When the last enemy soldier fell, silence returned to the cavern. Smoke drifted through the air. Daniel's squad looked at Lyra with new eyes. No longer just a liability, but not yet one of them either. She dropped the rifle, breathing hard. "They won't forgive this," she said. "By fighting with you, I've marked myself as a traitor." Daniel stepped closer. "Then you've chosen. You're with me." But her expression was torn. "I didn't choose," she whispered. "I only reacted. My heart told me protect you. But part of me still feels the weight of their voices. They raised me. They taught me to fight. And now I've killed them." Daniel reached out, gripping her shoulders. "You did what you had to do. You're not their weapon anymore. You're my family." Her eyes shone with tears. "Then help me believe that, brother. Help me let go." The Empire's voice. Suddenly, the squad's comms crackled with static. A cold, sharp voice filled the cavern. "Lyra of the Empire, you have betrayed us. Return now, and we may yet spare your life. Remain with the human, and you will be hunted across the stars." The voice echoed, harsh and merciless. Lyra froze, every muscle in her body tense. Her hands shook, her face pale. "They're calling to me," she whispered. "They know I can hear them." Daniel's heart pounded. "Don't listen. It's just fear. They want to control you." But he saw the struggle in her eyes. Years of loyalty, years of training, pulling against a fragile bond of blood that had only just been renewed. Trust tested. The soldiers shifted uneasily. "Captain, we can't drag her along if she's hearing voices from the enemy," one said. "What if she turns on us mid-fight?" Daniel raised his hand sharply. "Enough. She's staying." Lyra's voice trembled. "Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm dangerous to you." Daniel stepped forward until their foreheads nearly touched. His voice dropped to a whisper. "You're dangerous, yes, but not to me, to them. You're my sister, and I'll die before I let them take you again." Her eyes widened, and for a moment, the voices seemed to fade. "The escape plan." "Captain," a soldier said, breaking the silence, "we've got a dropship inbound, but the enemy fleet is closing in fast. Will they know our route?" Daniel's mind raced. He turned to Lyra. "Do you know their patrol patterns?" She hesitated. "Yes, I was trained in their tactics." "Then you're to guide us through," he said. The squad looked at each other nervously. Depending on her meant trusting her fully. Lyra took a deep breath. "All right, but if I lead you wrong, they'll think I betrayed them completely. There will be no going back." Daniel nodded firmly. "Then let's make sure we get it right." Ending hook. The squad moved out, following Lyra's lead through winding tunnels toward the extraction point. Above them, alien ships thundered across the skies. Daniel walked beside her, his weapon ready, his heart torn between hope and fear. For the first time, he believed she might truly stand with him. But he also knew every step they took together was pulling her further from the only life she had ever known. As they neared the exit, Lyra whispered, almost too softly to hear, "Brother, what if I'm not strong enough to choose?" Daniel's eyes hardened. "Then I'll choose for both of us." The night outside roared with engines and fire, and their path to freedom was only just beginning. The tunnels shook with every rumble above. Dust rained from the ceiling, and the squad's lights flickered as they pushed forward. The air was tight, heavy with smoke. Daniel led from the front, weapon raised, his eyes sharp. Lyra walked close to his side, guiding them to the maze of stone and broken steel. Behind them, the squad moved in tense silence, each soldier glancing at her as though expecting betrayal at any moment. They'll be sweeping the surface with scanners, Lyra whispered. If we surface too early, they'll see us. We need to move east, toward the old hangar shafts. It's the only way out unseen. Daniel nodded. You heard her. East. Move. The soldiers obeyed, though he could feel their hesitation. Truss was fragile, thinner than the walls around them. A narrow escape. The tunnel ended at a collapsed chamber. The ceiling opened to the night sky. Enemy ships glided overhead, their engines glowing red like watchful eyes. Stay low, Daniel ordered. They crept across the rubble, silent as shadows. But just as they reached the far side, a drone's beam swept over the chamber. Contact, a soldier hissed. The drone's alarm screamed. Energy blasts rained down, carving holes into the stone. Go! Go! Daniel shouted. The squad sprinted, diving into a side passage as rubble exploded behind them. Lyra stumbled, nearly falling. Daniel grabbed her wrist and pulled her forward, his grip firm. Her chest heaved, her eyes wide. For a moment, it felt like that day long ago, the day he had lost her hand in the fire. This time, he refused to let go. The drop, they burst from the tunnels into a canyon lit by a pale moon. Their extraction ship waited at the far end, engines glowing, its ramp lowered. Almost there, Daniel called, but the skies screamed with engines as enemy fighters swooped low, blocking their path. Blasts tore into the canyon walls, throwing stone into the air. The squad scattered for cover, returning fire. The extraction ship's guns lit up, trying to hold the enemy back. Daniel pulled Lyra against a boulder. Stay here, he shouted. She shook her head fiercely. No, I fight with you now. Before he could stop her, she snatched up a fallen rifle and fired. Her shots were precise, cutting through the drones that swarmed overhead. Daniel watched, half in disbelief. She moved like a soldier, no, like a warrior, not human trained, but deadly nonetheless. Cover her, Daniel ordered, and his squad obeyed, though with visible reluctance. Together, they carved a path through the firestorm. A close call. They reached the ship, sprinting up the ramp as blasts scorched the ground behind them. The ramp rose, ceiling shut, and the ship roared upward into the sky. Inside, the squad collapsed against the walls, gasping for breath. Lyra sank onto a bench, her rifle slipping from her hands. Daniel leaned against the bulkhead, sweat dripping from his brow. His heart still thundered. You fight like you've been at war for years, he said. Her gaze lowered. I have. They trained me from the day I could walk. The words cut him. He imagined her childhood filled not with laughter, but with drills and blades. Not with family, but with commands. The soldiers' unease. One of the men, Corporal Hayes, broke the silence. Captain, I'll say it straight. She saved us back there. But she also put us in danger. If command finds out we brought her aboard, they'll call her an enemy, another finished grimly. Daniel's eyes hardened. Then command doesn't need to know. Not yet. The squad exchanged uneasy glances but didn't argue further. Lyra looked down at her hands. I don't want to be the reason your men doubt you. Daniel knelt in front of her. You're the reason we're still alive. Don't forget that. Her lips trembled into the faintest smile. A brother and sister alone. Hours later, after the squad had settled, Daniel sat across from Lyra in the dim light of the ship's cabin. You saved my life today, he said quietly. You saved mine first, she replied. More than once. He studied her face. Older now, scarred by war, yet still carrying traces of the child he remembered. I still don't understand how you survived. That day, I thought you were gone forever. She lowered her eyes. I thought the same of you. Soldiers dragged me away. I cried for you, but no one listened. They took me to their world. They told me you were dead. Her voice broke. I hated them for lying, but part of me feared they were telling the truth. So I clung to the only thing I had, your promise, that one day you would come back. Daniel's chest tightened. And now I'm here. Her eyes lifted to his. Yes, but now I fear I'll lose you again. He reached out, taking her hand in his. Not this time, Lyra. Whatever comes, I won't let go. The shadow of war. Their moment was interrupted by the ship's comms. Captain, the pilot reported, enemy fleet is on the move. They're massing near the border. Looks like they're preparing for war. Daniel's blood ran cold. War. Humanity and Lyra's empire, both ready to strike. And at the center of it stood her. If command learned who she was, they would see her as a weapon. If the empire caught her, they would brand her a traitor. No matter where she turned, danger waited. Lyra's hand tightened around his. Brother, the storm is coming. Daniel met her gaze, his voice low and firm. Then we face it together. Ending hook. The extraction ship cut through the stars, engines burning bright against the darkness. Behind them, fleets gathered, preparing for a war that could engulf entire worlds. In the quiet cabin, Lyra rested her head against Daniel's shoulder. For the first time in years, she was not alone. But Daniel's eyes stayed sharp, fixed on the void ahead. He had found his sister again, but keeping her safe would cost more than he had ever given before. The true test of loyalty and blood was about to begin. The extraction ship drifted through dark space, engines humming low to avoid detection. Inside, the squad kept their distance from Lyra. They spoke in hushed tones, glancing her way when they thought she wouldn't notice. Daniel sat at the command console, watching the stars slide past. His jaw was tight. Every message from Fleet Command brought new orders, and every order pushed him closer to a decision he didn't want to make. Captain, Hayes said quietly, approaching him, "Where are you going to report who she is?" Daniel's eyes didn't leave the viewport. "She's a survivor. That's all Command needs to know." Hayes hesitated. "Sir, she's not just anyone. You've seen how she fights. You've heard what she said. She's one of them. If the fleet finds out we've been hiding an alien..." Daniel turned on him sharply. "She's my sister." The words dropped like a blade. Hayes stiffened, shocked into silence. Daniel's voice lowered but didn't soften. "If anyone on this ship leaks her identity, they'll answer to me." Hayes swallowed, nodded, and stepped back. But Daniel could see the unease in his eyes. Loyalty had limits, and fear could break it. The Empire strikes. Later, as the crew ate in silence, the ship shuddered violently. "Contact!" the pilot yelled. "Enemy cruiser on intercept course." Red lights flooded the cabin. Alarms wailed. Daniel rushed to the console. The screen lit with an image of a vast alien warship, its hull marked with the Empire's crest, sharp silver wings across a black star. A cold voice crackled through the comms. "Human vessel, you carry someone who belongs to us. Surrender her now and you may live." The squad's eyes darted to Lyra. She froze, her hands trembling. Daniel keyed the comm. "She doesn't belong to you. Not anymore." The voice replied, sharper now. "Then you will burn." The alien cruiser's cannons flared. Battle in the void. The ship jolted as blasts slammed against the shields. Metal groaned. Sparks rained from the ceiling. "Return fire," Daniel ordered. Turrets lit up, spitting energy into the void. Drones poured from the cruiser, swarming toward them like a cloud of steel insects. "Too many," Hayes shouted, firing from the side guns. Lyra sprang from her seat. "Let me help." Daniel blocked her. "You're not trained for this ship." But she was already moving, hands flying across a console. Alien runes lit the screen. The squad stared as she activated hidden countermeasures. Jamming signals, scrambling drone guidance. Half the swarm spun out of control, colliding with each other in fiery bursts. "Where did you learn that?" Daniel demanded. She didn't look at him. "I told you they trained me to fight their enemies." The irony wasn't lost on him. She had been their weapon. Now she was using their tools against them. Still, the cruiser loomed closer, cannons charging again. "Prepare for a jump," the pilot shouted. The engines roared, light warped, and the ship tore away into hyperspace, leaving the enemy behind. A moment of fragile peace. When silence finally returned, the squad sat in disbelief. "You just saved us," Hayes said slowly, staring at Lyra. His tone was no longer hostile, but cautious, uncertain. She looked down at her hands. I only delayed them. They won't stop. Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder. Neither will we. Her eyes lifted to him, full of both fear and trust. The debate, that night, voices rose in the command room. We can't keep running, Hayes argued. If she really is her princess or commander or whatever, then she's the key to ending this war. Command needs to know. And what do you think they'll do if they know? Daniel shot back. They'll use her, parade her in front of the fleet, or worse, hand her over in some twisted peace deal. Another soldier, Ramirez, leaned forward. And if we don't tell them, we'll all be branded traitors when they find out. Do you want to doom us all for her? Daniel's hands clenched into fists. She's not her. She's Lyra, my sister. That's all that matters. The room fell silent, the tension sharp as a knife. The squad wasn't united anymore. Doubt gnawed at them. Secrets in the dark. Later, when the others slept, Lyra approached Daniel quietly. They're right, she whispered. I'm dangerous to you. The Empire will never stop. And your people, they will never trust me. Daniel shook his head. You're not dangerous. You're family. Her eyes glistened. You don't understand. I wasn't only trained to fight. I was trained to lead, to command armies. If they find me, they won't just call me a soldier. They'll call me heir. Daniel froze. Heir? Heir to what? She swallowed. To the throne. I am the lost daughter of the Empire's king. The air went cold. The weight of truth. Daniel leaned back, his mind reeling. His sister, the lost heir to the very Empire, preparing for war against humanity. No wonder they wanted her back. No wonder they would burn planets to retrieve her. Lyra's voice trembled. Now you see why you can't protect me. Both sides will tear me apart for their own purposes. They don't care that I'm your sister. To them, I'm only a weapon or a crown. Daniel's jaw hardened. Then let them come. They'll learn I don't break that easily. But deep down, he knew the storm was closer than ever. Betrayal. The next day, alarm sounded again. But this time, no cruiser appeared. Instead, Daniel stormed into the cockpit and froze. A transmission was active, a coded signal sent from their own ship. He yanked the soldier from the console. It was Hayes. You betrayed us, Daniel growled. Hayes' face was pale. I had to. Command deserves to know. She's too dangerous. You're too blind to see it. Daniel's fist struck him hard, knocking him against the wall. Rage burned in his chest, but it was a betrayal that hurt most. The signal was sent. Their position was compromised. Within hours, both fleets would know exactly where they were. Ending hook. As the ship drifted through dark space, Lyra stood at the viewport, watching the stars. Daniel stood behind her, silent, his thoughts heavy. She was more than his sister now. She was a symbol, a prize that could decide the fate of galaxies. And thanks to betrayal within his own ranks, both humanity and the Empire would soon be hunting them. Lyra turned to him, her voice soft but steady. Brother, this is only the beginning. Daniel clenched his jaw, his hand resting on the pistol at his side. He had promised never to let her go. But keeping that promise might mean turning against everyone he had ever sworn to serve. The war was no longer coming. It was here. The ship's alarm screamed. Red lights flashed across every corridor. Daniel's squad scrambled to battle stations as the pilot's voice cracked over the comms. 2 fleets incoming, human and Empire. Both have locked onto our position. Daniel's chest tightened. Hayes' betrayal had brought them all to this. Through the viewport, the stars lit up as ships emerged from hyperspace. On one side, humanity's fleet, steel-gray cruisers bristling with cannons. On the other, the Empire's armada, sleek black vessels glowing with crimson engines. The void between them shimmered with tension, both sides waiting for the spark that would ignite the war. And in the middle, Daniel's lone ship, carrying the one person both fleets wanted, the demand. The comms flared. First came the voice of the human admiral. Captain Daniel Reeves, your order to surrender the alien aboard your ship. Failure to comply will result in your immediate destruction. A moment later, the Empire's message followed, cold and sharp. Return the heir to her rightful throne. Do so, and you may yet live. The voices overlapped in Daniel's mind, twisting into chains. Both sides saw Lyra not as a person, not as a sister, but as a prize. He turned to her. She stood tall despite the fear in her eyes. "Brother," she whispered, "they will kill us all, unless I go." "No," Daniel snapped. "You're not theirs. You're mine." Fire in the void. Before more words could be spoken, the first shot was fired. A human cruiser opened fire on an Empire destroyer. Beams of light ripped through the darkness, and in seconds the void became a storm of fire. The war had begun. Daniel's ship shuddered as blasts shook the shields. Drones and fighters swarmed like angry hornets, tearing at anything caught between the fleets. "Captain, what are your orders?" Ramirez shouted from the gunnery controls. Daniel's mind raced. If they stayed, they'd be crushed. If they fled, both sides would chase them. Lyra grabbed his arm. "There's a way." He met her eyes. "Tell me." She pointed toward the Empire's flagship, a massive vessel glowing like a black sun. "That ship carries the Empire's king, my father. If I speak to him, I can end this." Daniel's blood froze. "And how?" Her voice was steady. "By showing him that I am not his pawn, that I choose my own path." The desperate plan. The squad erupted in protest. "That's suicide." Hayes barked. "You'll be killed the second you step aboard." "Or worse," Ramirez added grimly. Daniel silenced them with a glare. His heart warred within him. Soldier against brother, duty against blood. Finally, he said, "If this is the only chance to stop the slaughter, then we take it." The pilot hesitated. "Sir, we won't survive a direct approach." Lyra stepped forward. "I can get us through. They designed their fleets to obey me. Let me try." She sat at the console, fingers flying across alien runes. Suddenly, the Empire's ships hesitated, their targeting systems flickering. A narrow corridor of safety opened toward the flagship. Daniel's squad watched in awe as their ship slipped through the chaos, guided by the very air the Empire sought. Confrontation with the king. The docking clamps locked with a shudder. The ramp lowered, revealing the cold steel hulls of the Empire's flagship. Armed guards lined the path, weapons raised. At the far end stood the king, tall, armored in silver and black, his face etched with years of war. His eyes, sharp as blades, fixed on Lyra. "My daughter," he said, his voice booming. "At last you return." Lyra stepped forward, her chin high. "I do not return. I stand free. I am not your weapon." Murmurs rippled through the hall. The king's expression hardened. "You speak with the tongue of humans. They have poisoned you." Daniel stepped beside her, weapon drawn. She chose her own voice. "And she's not alone." The king's eyes narrowed. "And who are you, human, to stand beside her?" Daniel's answer was firm. "Her brother." The hall fell silent. "The choice." The king's voice grew cold. "Blood binds her to me, not to you. She belongs to the Empire." Lyra's voice rang clear. "Blood binds me to Daniel, to family, not to a throne built on chains." The king raised his hand. Guards leveled their weapons. "Then you choose death." Before the first shot could be fired, Daniel stepped forward, shielding her with his body. "No!" Lyra cried, grabbing his arm. Daniel's voice was low, but steady. "If one of us must fall, it will be me, not you." Her eyes filled with tears. "I can't lose you again." The moment stretched like eternity. The king's command hung in the air, waiting to fall. The sacrifice. And then Lyra moved. With a sudden cry, she activated a console hidden on her wrist, a command device tied to the Empire's fleet. A surge of energy pulsed outward. Across the void, Empire ships froze, weapons powering down. The battlefield fell eerily silent as her command echoed through their systems. The king's eyes widened in shock. "What have you done?" Her voice shook, but her words were steel. "I've ended it. No more war. No more chains." The strain was unbearable. The device burned against her skin. Blood dripped from her nose. Daniel caught her as she staggered. Lyra, stop, you'll kill yourself. She looked up at him, a faint smile breaking through the pain. I told you I would end this. With one final surge, the entire Empire fleet shut down, drifting powerless in the void. The device shattered. Lyra collapsed in Daniel's arms. The aftermath. The hall was silent. Even the king could not speak. Daniel held her, trembling, his tears falling onto her pale face. Stay with me, Lyra. Please. Her eyes fluttered open, weak but alive. I'm not going anywhere. Brother. Relief flooded him, fierce and overwhelming. Around them, the Empire's guards lowered their weapons. The king's expression cracked, not with rage, but with something deeper, older, perhaps regret. The battle outside had ended. Humanity's fleet held its fire, stunned by the sudden silence. For now, the war was paused. Epilogue. Days later, the galaxy whispered the girl who had stopped the war, the lost heir who chose not a throne, but her brother. Daniel stood with her on the observation deck of a neutral station, watching the stars. You changed everything, he said softly. She leaned against him, weary but smiling. No, brother, we did. Together. The stars stretched endless before them, not as battlefields, but as possibilities. For the first time in years, they were free. And whatever storms still waited in the galaxy, they would face them side by side.